What's up, everybody? Brady Klotz here with my co-host Mike Somich. Breeders' Cup week. We are pumped. Haven't gotten much sleep this week at all. Been spending it handicapping. How are you guys doing today? What's up, Mike?
Not too much, man. Doing good. Looking forward to getting out to Del Mar, man. I'm super excited. I think my flight leaves in about 12 hours right now. So I get to board a plane, get out there super early, drive down from LA, be at the track Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Done a lot of handicapping already through the Wednesday, the Saturday, Friday and Saturday cards. So still have Thursday to do, but man, I'm just looking forward to getting this thing going.
Absolutely. Me too. I couldn't sleep last night. I took some NyQuil, still couldn't knock me out, man. I got up at about 3:30 and I haven't slept since. So that's just typical Breeders' Cup week for me. I just don't have anything else going on. So I put my company email and auto reply for the rest of the week. So should have no distractions. But yeah, it's all Breeders' Cup now. And we had the post draw last night. And that was exciting. You know I had a few people over. We were watching it. And, no real surprises, I thought. I thought some heroes maybe got the shaft a little bit in some of the turf races on the post draw. But as far as a lot of the American favorites, I thought they all drew pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, as we go through this, there's definitely a couple Europeans that I think got tough draws. I mean, Tanawa comes to mind, Dabawi Legend comes to mind, Adaria comes to mind. I mean, you got horses that are going to be sub 5-1. They're drawing in the 12 through 14 posts, going short distances on the Del Mar turf. It's not exactly what you're looking for. You're going to be hung wide. And, some horses, Tanawa, for instance, not facing as big of a challenge there because she's going to want to close. And so if she can sit the trip and then close from outside, shouldn't be as big of an issue. Other ones that want to be a little more forwardly placed, welcome to the 4 and 5 path, my friends. That first turn is not your friend.
No, it is not. And as we know, based on past history at Del Mar, anything outside the 10 post is just absolutely brutal on the turf. We have a very short turn into that, or short for that first turn. And so getting position is going to be key for all of these races, not just, the ones on the outside. It's, if you're buried on the inside, you've got some things to negotiate too. We saw in the juvenile that Jack Christopher drew the 1 hole. And as a 2-year-old, he's got speed, but you never really want to be down there.
No, you don't. You also don't want to be Carniche out in the 12th post either. I mean, so it's interesting. You get the 2 favorites as the bookends of that field. It'll be interesting to see what Baffert does with his other horses and see if he decides to force Carniche 5-4 wide with his own horses, or if he's going to kind of just settle back and figure it out. But it seems like you're going to see both of those bookends send there.
Absolutely. Well, we got a bunch of people in the chat. Thanks for your patience, guys. Having a little technical difficulties here, but nothing will stop us from talking to the Breeders' Cup. Oldie's here, Mo's here, Chuck, Michael, Steve, Patrick, Alec, Greg. What is up, guys? You guys ready for the cup? I know we are. Me and Mike are just going to dive right in. We're going to go over all 14 races, talk a little bit about what we think about the good chalk or the bad chalk, and which ones we maybe will be pressing in the BCBC or fading and trying to beat. So let's dive in, Mike. The first race for the Breeders' Cup is on Friday. It's the 2-year-olds going in the Juvenile Turf Sprint. Your favorite is Avery Jane at 5-2. Wesley Ward has 3 runners in this race. And what are your thoughts here? I know Avery Jane is a pretty popular favorite. Is she a good chalk or is she a bad chalk?
I mean, I'm going to kick it off here with a good chalk. I think Avery Jane has a very good shot at winning this race, very high natural cruising speed. I got to say, I think the main threat here is going to be another Ward horse. I think Twilight Gleaming is the other one that kind of pops out to you, especially after you see Irad taking that mount. It makes you really wonder what Twilight Gleaming is going to have. Huge improvement from first to second race, going from dirt to turf. Then's able to go over to Europe, get a win in France. Avery Jane, on the other hand, I mean, this was one of those horses that I'd been hearing about for a while, and had heard that she was better on turf than dirt. And then you see that last race at Keeneland where she absolutely dominates at 5.5. And you got to think that she's going to be able to step away from this field early, and they're going to play catch me if you can. And we only are going 5 furlongs, and we're handling a firm turf. 2 things that I think will help Avery Jane quite a bit. So for me, this is a good chalk and one that I may or may not have a large BCBC bet now that I got 2 entries.
Well, darn it, that makes 2 of us. I think Avery Jane is a good chalk as well. Always scary when a trainer has multiple running in the race. A lot of times we'll hear about the other Chad Brown or the other Bob Baffert, and the higher price one usually gets us when we're not looking. But in this case, I think Avery Jane is the speed of the speed. You made a good point about Twilight Gleaming. You get Ortiz up, who rode Golden Powell last year in this race for Wesley Ward. Also rode 4-wheel drive 2 years ago at Santa Anita. And so with Irad not getting Avery Jane, you wonder, okay, Ward put this horse over across the pond for a couple of races, brought him back. What are we going to get now? He couldn't really kick Gaffleone off of the horse. I mean, Avery Jane's Gaffleone's horse, and so there was really no reason to make a change there. But, this could be – this is a two-horse race for me. I could see myself pounding just a straight 8 over the 6 exacta. And, heck, who knows? Maybe even Coffee Maker could run third for a Ward try.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to sprinkle some Dairy Nane in there, 12-1 in the 11 horse. I love the improvement on firm turf last time out over at Woodbine, going the flat 5 for the first time. And I'm a little interested in the European Invader Armor as well. So those are the other two that I'll sprinkle underneath in the tries and the supers.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you one that I was very surprised on the morning line. That is the number 9 one-timer. I thought this horse would be a lot higher. You got Larry Ravelli, who, is a butters from Chicago and, trained at Arlington until they closed it down. He's got this runner. He's bringing E.T. Baird in. I was surprised you're not getting, a lot, maybe double the price on this horse. The horse has a lot of hype and it's going to take a lot of money. I'm just not sure what he's faced.
I agree with you, but I think you hit the nail on the head. A lot of hype, going to take a lot of money. And the morning line is not what the odds maker thinks the actual winning percentage will be from these horses. It's what he thinks the off odds will be. And I would tend to agree. I think you're going to get somewhere between 5 and 6 to 1 on one-timer, which is about half of what I would need to be able to bet the horse.
Yeah, absolutely. Locked and loaded race. It's interesting strategy when we're talking Breeders' Cup betting challenge because, there's some people that go shove early, the whole entry in. And so, this could be, a horse that people are maybe trying to key. And there's a lot of favorites that are looking pretty good right now. So we'll go good chalk on Avery Jane. Any other thoughts on the turf sprint or we go ahead and move on?
I think we're ready to roll. Trying to get through 14 races here. We gotta be precise. And when we're going through these guys, shout out your winners too. We're going to go in order. So what races are coming up next. Let us know who you like, and we'll definitely talk about horses if you drop them in the chat.
Absolutely. All right. Pulling up race in here as soon as the system updates. This is going to be the Juvenile Phillies. All right, might have to refresh here real quick. Interesting. Echo Zulu is going to be our favorite in a 6-horse field. We had one deflection. I was actually really looking forward to betting a horse called Ain't Easy that Rosario was going to ride. But unfortunately, she scratched, and we've got a 6-horse field. And Echo Zulu, we're going to swallow 4 to 5 on this chalk. Is Echo Zulu a good chalk or a bad chalk?
Bad chalk. I'm against Echo Zulu here, and the main reason is the distance concerns. Look, Echo Zulu's been great around one turn, done absolutely nothing wrong. Just like her dam, who was 3 for 3 around one turn, 0 for 1 going 2 turns. Munnings, I prefer sprinting more than going 2 turns. So for me, Echo Zulu is one of those horses where I'm just not willing to choke down a short price, especially after this draw. Look, Juju's map to the inside of her is a problem, because Juju's map is going to send with Echo Zulu. The two of them will most likely get in somewhat of a pace battle. And then my guess is Juju's map will settle a little bit off it once they go into the turn, force Echo Zulu 3 to 4 wide. Juju maps cuts to the rail. Echo Zulu then has to decide, do I sit in the 2-path or do I use and get in front? Either way, not a great setup. And I actually think it's bad for both of them. I kind of like Hidden Connection a little bit, who's going to be sitting right behind these two horses, has tactical speed, and Connect, the sire of Hidden Connection, is very good around 2 turns, not as good around 1 turn. I think that the added distance is a benefit for the 2 here.
You make a good point about Hidden Connection. This horse has been very impressive coming out of Churchill. And we have a young jockey, kind of an up-and-comer, Raylu Gutierrez, that's riding big for Brett Calhoun here. And so this could be a career maker or a big jump to get Raylu, kind of on the map. He's been riding well, kind of under the radar for the last year and a half at some smaller tracks. And he even rode in New York quite a bit over the summertime. And so I would love to see him ride well here. I'm going good chalk. If we think about the Juvenile Phillies races over the last couple of years, Joel Rosario has absolutely dominated this since 2018 with Churchill Downs when he had Jaywalk. And then last year we had Vequist. And it's interesting that Ricardo Santana Jr. is Steve Asmussen's #1 call rider. He gets everything from Steve. But, Joel's got Jackie's Warrior. He's got Nick's Go, who's another speed horse. He's on Blowout. So why not put him on another speed horse? And I don't know. I haven't heard the reports on why they made the change. I almost wonder it could have been an owner thing because Ricardo still has mounts on Clairiere, I believe. But either way you get it, it's not a downgrade. It's an upgrade. I just wonder what Juju Map's going to do. I think Echo Zulu is a lot faster, but, it's Cox and Flo. You never know what they can do, and especially with fillies. And so it'll be interesting to see how quick they go up front. I think Echo Zulu gallops. I think this is a great chalk.
Yeah, this is why I love the show, man. Let me be clear though. This isn't one of the races where I'm going to go crazy betting. Like I may play a double in the BCBC and play Avery Jane into hitting connection if I'm getting $20+ 20+ to 1 on it, because that's a nice overlay on the 2-5 to 2 numbers. I don't think I'm not going to go crazy trying to beat Echo Zulu here, especially in this shorter field where I don't think it's too nutty. I do like the 4-horse a little bit if you want to get a little funky, and that's Tarabi. Tarabi is a horse that I think is going to enjoy having more distance here. Lost by 4 lengths to Echo Zulu, but again, I'm forecasting Tarabi to take a step forward. I'm forecasting Echo Zulu to take a step back, and additionally, you had trouble for Tarabi in that race, so you kind of take all of that into account, and I wouldn't be shocked if we see a big time step forward here in the 4. And it's interesting, the GSR disagrees with me, right? The GSR is saying I'm wrong. So it's interesting when you look at that and then you base off your opinions and you kind of see which way it goes. But for me, the echo's getting really bad over there, Brady.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I can maybe mute myself while you were talking. We're having just a few mic difficulties here. But no, I agree. I think, if you don't single Echo Zulu, you might want to go 2 or 3 deep in this leg, maybe even 4 deep. So that's for you guys to decide. We'll move on to the next race here. This is race number 8. This is going to be the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Phillies Turf with a 5-1 morning line favorite in Pizza Bianchi. I think this is a terrible chalk. Mike, what do you think here?
I almost feel bad even calling this horse chalk because it's not even fair. First off, Pizza Bianca is not going off as the favorite. 0 chance. Like I was shocked when I saw this morning line. I'd be interested to see who people in the chat think is going to end up being the favorite here. Like I'm not sure if it's going to be Bubble Rock. I think that's possible. I think that you might end up seeing Consumer Spending go off the favorite. I think Koala Princess might go off the favorite. Anyway, if we're talking specifically about Pizza Bianca bad chalk, I'm not going to use this horse in anything, anywhere. Don't like the draw. Don't like the horse. I would be very surprised if this is the one that gets it done. This is a great race to play pick 3s into, though. Like we talked about, no matter what you feel about the last race, if you like Avery Jane, and then you either think that Echo Zulu is good chalk or bad chalk, and this is your closing pick 3 leg, if you can string a cold pick 3 together, you're getting paid here.
No, absolutely. Mike, you make a good point about the pick 3s and the pools. I think pick 3s are going to be rolling for me all day long, especially when we have some of these chalks we really don't want to play against. You got chalks like Gamine that, a lot of people are going to be singling. Life is Good. So what I'm going to be trying to do is look at the will pays of the doubles and then try to kind of construct some pick 3s where I'm singling some of these really strong opinions to try to get some extra value on some tickets. I did not like Pizza Bianca here, and I really didn't like that she drew the 1 hole as well. So I really don't have much working in her favor. I'm a fan of Bubble Rock. I'm a fan of Consumer Spending. I'm a big fan of Koala Princess, and the EE morning line really likes it as well at 3-1 off of a track 6-1 morning line. So something to definitely take note there. When I was at Keeneland, I got to see the 11-horse Haughty run, and she was impressive as well. And so I'm probably going to be going about 4 deep in this leg. California Angel, this is the hype horse. This is a great story for George Leonard. The 14 horse really blows here. That kind of sucks. You make the trip all the way out to Del Mar to draw the 14. Hey, they're happy to be there. They're happy to be in the race. I hope California Angel runs big. One horse I'm going to be fading is actually the top pick, Turner Loose. I don't like this horse at all. This is a speed and fade type for me. And I just see Flo probably pumping on the lead at the quarter pole and just getting swallowed up by about 5 or 6 of these closers. And so I was against the Flo Cox here. But we both agree that Pizza Bianca is a bad chalk, and I don't think she's probably going to be on any of my tickets.
Yeah, I'm not going to include her on anything. For me, you mentioned Bubble Rock. Bubble Rock is a horse that I like. I actually like Koala Princess as well. My top pick in here right now, and obviously, subject to change, but right now my top pick is Hello You, coming over from Europe. This horse has improved the last 3 starts and seems to be getting right at the right time. Horse also has tactical speed, which is something that's important when you have these European horses coming over. Not sure why the 6 horse isn't showing up for me right now on the Equinedge side, but Hello You, the 6 coming over right now is my top pick. And I like Koala Princess quite a bit either. Quite a bit as well. And I think when you look at the chat, you can just see this race is going to be wide open. We got a Koala Princess, we got a Howdy, The 10 here, which is Helen's Way. And then Cairo Memories would be different with different connections, would be 5-1. I mean, there's a lot of opinions and a lot of directions here. And I wouldn't disagree with anyone of any of those horses. I think they all have a shot here. And I think you can also tell that when you look at the Equinedge percentages in this race. Doesn't even have my top pick in, has no one over 20%, and no one, and maybe this is why, maybe you're just knocking out the lower percentages, but no one under 3% either. And you've got a lot of these 10%, 11%, 12% type horses, just showing that the race is absolutely wide open.
Absolutely. And you know, I kind of felt the moral of the story for this year's Breeders' Cup is that the dirt races are kind of undersubscribed and the turf ones are oversubscribed. You know, a lot of these dirt fields are going to be 5 and 6, 7 deep, where these turf races, you know, all of them have AEs, it seems like. You know, I like big fields. You know, whenever I watch like Royal Ascot and I see 25 horses load into a gate, I love it because no matter what your opinion is, it's going to pay. In some of these shorter fields, you know, it's going to be a little bit shorter, but, you know, it's still the Breeders' Cup. So we would both agree that we are fading the lukewarm 5-1 chalk here. All right, on to the juvenile here. Jack Christopher. There's 3 Bafferts in the race, and not even one of them's the favorite. You've got a Chad Brown favorite that drew the rail here that, I don't know, is this the next kind of good magic for Chad Brown? What do you think here, Mike?
I'm going bad chalk. And I hate the post draw here. I hate the one for Jack Christopher. I'm not a huge Chad Brown dirt guy. I know the Good Magic was able to get the job done here as a maiden. But Good Magic was an all-time horse. When you think about Justify, it was the horse that was beat him, and all the, obviously, the talk around Baffert and the swirl there. Good Magic would have been horse of the year, maybe would have won the Triple Crown if it not been for Justify in that spot. I mean, Good Magic could have been one of those lifetime horses that we just ended up not hearing much about because he ran second in the Derby, even after winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But outside of him, you just haven't seen that many. And again, when you look at Jack Christopher, to me, I've just got some concerns here around how far this horse really wants to go. It's a son of Munnings, which is a son of Speightstown, not generally a 2-turn, longer pedigree. The speed should definitely help. I don't like the inside draw isn't the worst ever here as long as Jack Christopher is able to break. So I don't have a ton of interest with that. But you got the outside horse Kanish, who's probably going to press. I mean, you have Pinehurst, who has speed. You've got a lot of horses that want to be forwardly placed. And when I look at this, I kind of end up, and I don't love this pick. I'm lukewarm on this, but I end up with the 10 Command Performance, the maiden at 5-1. And again, this is a horse that should improve around 2 turns, has tactical ability speed, is able to come late. Didn't necessarily love the trip for Command Performance last time. The extra 16th of a mile should help. I mean, I want someone who's not going to be right on the lead. I want that stalker. So for me, that goes to someone like the 10 Command Performance, who I think is going to take a nice step forward here. And I'm really interested to see how the Bafferts play out. So I like, from a pace scenario, the 12 and the 1 are the fastest 2 horses. Jack Christopher and Carnation are the fastest. But Pinehurst is really in a great spot to be the thorn in the side of Jack Christopher. And we've never seen Carniche rate because he's never had to. Like, we don't know if he can. It'll be interesting to see if Baffert says, okay, Pinehurst, you go. And you pressure Jack Christopher. Carniche, you sit right behind. Because it'd be really easy for the 8 to clear, the 12 to tuck in, and the 12 trips out behind the 1 and the 8. Or the 1 and the 9, I'm sorry. So that would be what I would do if I was Baffert. But we've never not seen Carniche on the lead. So it's going to be really interesting to see how those early pace jockeying goes and who ends up where. And I think that is going to be one of the most telling parts of this race. But any way you slice it, Jack Christopher is not going to have an easy lead on this one horse.
I would agree with all those points there, Mike. You know, let's start with Jack Christopher drawing the 1 hole. I've heard some comparisons. This might be the Jackie's Warrior of last year. You know, I was all over Jackie's Warrior. He turned out to just be a sprinter or a 1-turn mile. And last time out, Jack Christopher got a mile, but at 1 turn. So is he going to relish going 2 turns on this Del Mar surface? Time will tell on that. And I know last year I really supported Jackie's Warrior in the contest, and Essential Quality absolutely lapped me. And so did Hot Rod Charlie. Interesting. I like Jack Christopher here. I think he's a lukewarm chalk. I think he deserves to be the chalk. I don't necessarily know that he's got my total seal of approval. You got 3 Bafferts. We know that not all of them are going to go to the lead. Probably one of them will. With Corniche drawing the outside post and having Mike Smith, you know this horse is going to be 4 or 5 wide into that first turn. I don't think Corniche goes to the lead. You know, when I was at the Preakness this year, we all thought Concert Tour was maybe going to go get the lead from Medina Spirit. And we actually saw Mike Smith at dinner the night before the Preakness. And He said he wasn't going to go get the lead. So we're like, okay, well, toss concert to her.
I would have loved to know that.
Yeah, I know, right? He told the truth. He was honest about it. He's like, I'm not going to get the lead. You know, the Derby winner's going to go get the lead. You know, I don't want to wreck Bob's Triple Crown. He didn't say that part, but that's kind of what I made out of that. Pinehurst is scary here. You know, Johnny V and Baffert have been absolutely ruining my tickets for like the last 2 years. I mean, I just had Medina Spirit on my Derby ticket by default. You know, I don't like the horse at all, but you got to think of tactics and what could happen. And with Pinehurst getting a better draw than Corniche, I'm thinking this might be the Baffert that ends up inheriting the challenge. I'm not going to say inheriting the lead, but inherits the challenge with Jack Christopher. I agree with you with the 10 command and performance. This is a maiden, which, you know, kind of scares you a little bit. But if you look at how he finished in the Champagne, he was gaining on Jack Christopher. And it almost looked like one of those horses that, you know, you just say after the race, man, he wants more distance. And that's kind of what I'm going to go with here. I'm going to fade the Bafferts. I'm going to press Chad Brown and Todd Pletcher here.
I am really interested, and I know there's been some talk about this in the chat. I am really interested to see if the pace push here from Equinedge is out before this Breeders' Cup race, because I'm would love to know where that projects. Timeform actually has the other Baffert, the 8 horse, who we haven't even talked about, Barbosa, as the fastest Baffert horse early between Barbosa and Pinehurst. They've got Carniche as the fastest, but that 12 post is going to be awfully tough to clear if you've got multiple horses stacking up on the outside. So maybe Barbosa is the one that goes with Jack Christopher, and you have Pinehurst and Carniche sitting off. The first half mile of this race is just wildly interesting to me. I think it's fast no matter how you slice it. I think that sets up for command performance. I'm also interested a little bit, and this is a couple people have mentioned this horse here, in Oviatt class. I think this horse could come from off the pace and be interesting. And don't sleep on the 2-horse Jasper Great. He looked awesome in Japan, and I've been saying this in multiple places. There will be a Japanese Breeders' Cup winner this year or next year. The thoroughbred racing has gotten so much better over in Japan. Don't just sleep on the Japan horses. Like in the past, they were auto chucks. They're not auto chucks anymore. And it will be interesting to see what kind of prices we get on a couple of them this year, especially in a turf race where I know I'm like back and forth on putting one on top. So I think Jasper Great is one of those horses that is going to be interesting and has won at 1 1/8. So we know the distance will not be an issue. Although it is a son of Airgate who obviously hated Del Mar. So that is probably an issue.
I've been fading Arrowgate's babies, and I've been pressing Gunrunner. I mean, he is by far, you know, they dueled on the track together, but Gunrunner is by far a way better early sire than Arrowgate has. Oh, yeah. I agree with you on the Japanese horses. You know, they've got bricks and mortar over their breeding, and, you know, they're getting a lot of our good horses over there now. So it's only a matter of time. I think they probably have a lot better shot at the Filly and Mare Turf, which we'll get to here in a little bit, to get their first winner. But that sums up the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Yeah, this race kind of gets me every year since winter. You know, we had, what's his name? Storm the Court? I always call him Half Court Shot for some reason. Some basketball reference. It's never correct. But Storm the Court wins after Dennis's moment just absolutely put his nose in the dirt, and that was over from the start. But maybe that's what I get for betting Romans as a favorite. And then last year we had Essential Quality, which, you know, just absolutely proved. And what impresses me the most about Essential Quality is that he is sustained. You don't often see a lot of times a juvenile winner sustain for a whole entire calendar year. I mean, he hasn't had a letdown. I mean, 4th in the Derby, but look at how that race ended. It was kind of a blanket finish.
Well, like look at just the overall form of that race last year coming back. I mean, absolutely incredible. You had Hot Rod Charlie, who ran second. They could run 1-2 in the Classic, and I don't think that it would be that big of a surprise. That would be absolutely amazing if you saw the juvenile race produce the Classic exacta the following year. I mean, I'm not going to bet it, but it could happen.
Get a future on that. All right, here's how we're going to get paid in the final leg of Friday's card. This is the Juvenile Turf. And, you know, this is a race where, you know, you take America's best and then see what Europe's bringing over. It's so hard to get European information. You know, we hear everybody talk about it, but until we get them here at Del Mar to see how they're going to like the firm going, we really don't know. I've been watching a lot of replays on these races, and I've been trying to look at some GSRs and some horses to see, okay, who's elite in this class? And we land on Dubowie Legend as a 4-1 morning line favorite. Good chalk or bad chalk?
Dubowie Legend was good chalk before the draw, and now Dubowie Legend is bad chalk. I mean, I went from having Dubowie Legend on top to having Dubowie Legend like fringe of my top 4 in this race. This is one where I am going to lean more toward the European horses. I've got three of the 4 of my top 4 are all Europeans. I'm going to go with the inside rail draw here in modern games. I don't love the inside rail draw, but one of the keys, again, if you look at if you watch the past or the replays of this horse, went early to the lead last time out, was forwardly placed the time before that, tracked the leaders the time before that. You've got tactical speed in modern games, which I think is very, very important, breaking from that one post. Additionally, the 2 and the 3 the 2 doesn't have much speed. So I'm not as worried about the 2 horse kind of mucking up the trip here for the 1 horse modern games. Albar also missed the break badly at Woodbine last time. If he does that again from the 2, it's game over. It's one of the reasons I actually didn't end up using that horse. Modern games to me is the one that you kind of have to beat. It's the Euro who I like the most, but I do like a couple other prices in here as well. And it's going to be interesting to see if the Euros can continue their dominance in this spot.
Yes, it will be. And, I kind of relate this race a little bit to some that we saw at Belmont and Saratoga, where I called it an Applebee's race because I'm all over the 1 and the 2 here. Both Appleby runners, Modern Games and Albahar. That race at Albahar that you mentioned at Woodbine where he broke bad, he had Frankie Dettori up. I just think the way that horse closed, I would love to see it on firm turf. I think he's going to love it. And if there's some more speed in this race, I think he could set a trip, maybe for a minor upset, 6-1 morning line. Anyway you look at it, DeBowie Legend absolutely got shafted on the draw. This was a horse that had a lot of hype coming in, even over Modern Games. A lot of people were trying to choose one of the 2, but then a lot of them were trying to use horses in this spot. However, from the 14 post, when you're going 2 turns, I really worry because it's such a short run into that first turn. And so, sometimes horses are just monsters, and maybe James Doyle can sit a perfect trip, but his odds just got a lot tougher. As far as the American horses go, I was really bummed to see Annapolis scratch out of this race. That was the one American horse that I was really looking forward to pressing here to try to get one done for the USA. Tis the Bomb, I think you could get at a price. It's the long shot play as well. Really terrible break last time, broke through the gate early before the race even started. And seldom do I ever see a horse win a race after they break through the gate early and have to be reloaded. So I thought that was very impressive from Tis the Bomb. However, McPeak, I don't think he's ever won a Breeders' Cup race. So I think you should probably wait for double-digit odds there. McKinnon's the Doug O'Neill runner that's gotten a lot of hype this year. I think he's done nothing wrong. I look forward to seeing what he can do here on his home track. And then you got Portfolio Company. If we liked Annapolis, we got to like Portfolio Company. When I was at Keeneland 3 weeks ago, we talked to Chad's assistant, and this is one of the horses that they were really high on for going forward in the future. And so, we hang out with the barn guys a lot and try to get as much information as we can, and they're very gracious. But I think Portfolio Company with a good trip here could be in the money. But this is all Applebee's for me. Yeah. All right, let's move on to Saturday. Go here. Saturday, we've got Gamine running here in the $1 million Fillion Mare. This is the race that absolutely got me last year because I had Serengeti Empress, and Gamine proved that she could stalk and rate. What do you see here, Mike? Gamine, good chalk or bad chalk?
Oh, Gamine's good chalk, and it's unfortunate. But you had Astilio Talentoso defect today, so now we're down to 5. And to me, what really was the nail in the coffin was the fact that Bella Sofia drew outside of Gamine. Once Bella Sofia drew outside of Gamine, you just don't feel like Bella Sofia is going to be able to put the pace pressure required on Gamine. She's not as good as she was last year going into this race, but the field is worse this year than it was last year. And so this is one where I'm happy this is the 4th race. I'm happy this is earlier in the day. I'm probably not putting a big BCBC wager in on Gamine. This is one where I'm probably, and this is like, if you're playing these tournaments, I wrote an article for the Racing Dudes Guide. Go check that out, specifically for tournament strategy around both the BCBC and Win Place tournaments. This is one where I'm going to be playing most likely a $500 show on Gamine and a $100 daily double with someone else on top, trying to find a way to create value if Gamine loses. But if Gamine doesn't lose, and she shows, which she damn well should show, then you get through a race, which is one of your mandatory races at the $600 level, and you're able to either break even or have a big time chance going forward, or you could break even and have a big time chance going forward. So I talk about that in the article about how show betting can be huge in these different tournaments. And people are like, you have to go from 7,500 to 150,000 and you're betting shows. Sometimes it's a good way to get past the races you don't like.
I could not agree more. And, I've got a group of guys that we talk about these tournaments and how they can play out in certain plays. And I'm a huge fan of getting a race out of the way. You almost have to look at it as a free square, get your $200 for pass and go. That's this race for me. Gamine's going to be a play of a show bet to just get one pass. a lot of times in these BCBCs, it's 2 or 3 big plays that get guys to the top. I know Marshall Graham last year, he had one double on Friday that paid him about 22 Gs. Then he went, all in on Monomoy Girl late in the day on Saturday, and then spread out his bankroll on 5 or 6, 7 exacta combinations in the last leg. 3 really big plays to jump from $7,500 up to, I think he was about 170 or so last year for all the big prizes. And JK did something similar. He hit a double with Glass Slippers and a Knicks Go, and then went all in on Monomoy Girl, and then, just tried to get Tarnawa into a horse in the Classic. And so, how you bet, all the handicapping's done for me. I mean, I don't need to, I've looked at everything on the platform. Now it's ticket construction for me. It is, how am I properly going to bet all these opinions? Because I felt like the post draws went very well for me. And with my opinions, all of the speed horses that I liked drew inside of the other pressing speed, which is great because then I won't be forced wide. And I think that's huge for Gamine here because she typically does go wide in a lot of her races in the stretch. And so if she can have the inside jump on Bella Sofia, I think if Bella Sofia wants to have a chance at running second in this, she's going to have to sit. If she doesn't, if she tries to go and press Gamine, I see her burning her wheels up. And the other option for me was to try to get either CC or Edgeway in second. I might toss Bella Sofia completely out of my trifecta if I'm playing one with Gamine on top. But I thought Edgeway was maybe a horse that if she ran her best race on Saturday could run second. I also think CC is that horse as well. So I will be fading Bella Sofia, especially after the draw. Good chalk for Gamine. Actually, excellent chalk, if there's anything better.
Unfortunately, very short chalk, though. So it's not even that it's hard to even pound that horse and find a way to make money.
Yeah, and we saw some deflections, too, of horses like Bell's the One and Sconson that we thought would maybe be in this race. And we want those horses in this race because if it's a 10 or 11 race field, then all of a sudden maybe we're getting 4 to 5 on Gamine, and it's usable, even in like a multi-race.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, truth hurts. We went up and won at Belmont last weekend. Was supposed to be in this race. I mean, so you just had horses drop out one after the other here.
All right. That's it for the filly and mare sprint. Now we move on to Golden Powell in the turf sprint. Golden Powell was the Juvenile Turf sprint winner last year at odds of 7-2 is the morning line favorite. Drew a great post, but everybody I talked to is trying to find an excuse to beat this horse. They don't think he's as impressive as what he was last year. They don't think he's as fast. After the draw here, I have to make a decision. I'm going to go good chalk here on Golden Powell because he's 7-2. I don't think he'll be anywhere close to 7-2. I think you're looking more at 5-2 or 2-1 on this horse. So at 7-2, I have to go good chalk because I'd bet my own money at 7-2.
I wouldn't. I'm going bad chalk here. You couldn't give me 5-1 on this horse to make me want it. This is one of those races where I don't think Golden Powell is necessarily the fastest horse in this race, which is his biggest weapon. And that definitely causes some trouble. I think that Lieutenant Dan, I think Charmaine's Mia 100% send and go and push. And that causes trouble for Golden Powell. If you look at these races previously, the previous runnings of these races, 13 efforts, only 1 3-year-old has won. Only 4 times horses have gone wire to wire. It is hard to go wire to wire. It's very hard to go wire to wire when you're a younger horse. The speed of the speed will line up here to face him. And I think it really plays toward horses that want to come from a little bit off the pace. And so that's kind of where my handicapping led me, was horses that came from a little off the pace or closers. They're able to get it done. I mean, even last year, Glass Slippers won because that pace collapsed. And I think you're going to see a very similar setup here early where you have 21 and change, 43 and change. And it's going to be the horses that are coming from off the pace. They're going to be able to get it done, not the horses that are out front.
Yeah, this is going to be one heck of a race, especially from a betting perspective. And Ward's got his other run of Kamari, which I thought maybe would have opted for the filly and mare sprint. But I don't know. This is an interesting spot for Kamari. I know Kamari's done well on dirt, and so I thought maybe she'd go 7 furlongs in the filly and mare sprint over this one. There's some horses of times past with Extravagant Kid, Fast Boat that I've, in Gear Jockey that I've played before. But, I don't know with that outside post how it's going to lend to them, trying to get over and trying to get a good position. I agree with you. I think Lieutenant Dan's the fastest horse in the race. And so Golden Powell drew inside of Lieutenant Dan, which helps Golden Powell. It's just going to come down to the break for me. If one of these speed horses doesn't break and Golden Powell gets an easy lead, good luck because Golden Powell is gone. Last race against Fire Crow. Let's see here. Who else? he faced last time out. Extravagant Kid, he absolutely put them away after it looked like he was beat. So the question is Golden Powell showed his best stuff yet this year, or has he got something extra, another gear in the tank? A lot of people are looking at figures. Golden Powell's figures are a little light. So that's another thing to look at is, can he step up? If Gear Jockey runs his last race, it's plenty good enough to win this race. And so this is a race where I think you could really get creative here. Last year, Glass Slippers came in at a nice price. I don't see that pace collapse this year. I think you're going to have to be within 2 lengths, 3 lengths of the lead to have any shot in this year's race. One, because it's at Del Mar on firm turf, and number 2, because I really don't like any of the closers.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that I don't fully agree with you. I think a couple of the closers have a legit shot here. I think horses like, and I don't know if you call Fast Boat a closer, but Fast Boat comes from 7 or 8 lengths off. I think Fast Boat's going to be right there if he's able to run back to a race like the Troy. And don't sleep on the distance here. 5 furlongs matters, and Fast Boat is 7 for 16 at that distance. Gear Jockey, I think, is interesting as well, coming from a little bit off the pace. Don't sleep on the Europeans either. Europeans don't generally win this race. Obviously, Glass Slippers was able to last year. I like Glass Slippers the least out of the Europeans in here. I think that the 2-horse, and I know a couple people mentioned it in the chat here, Emirati Anna, really interesting, improving every single race right now. He was able to win the Grade 1 Betfair Sprint Cup last time out, a little bit of a price. And the one thing that I like is that he consistently is close to the pace. When you look at the running lines, it's chased close, chased leaders. He's not coming from the clouds in Europe. And so I'm looking for horses when they are coming over in Europe that are going to be a little bit more forwardly placed. I also like the 6-horse here, Case of You, a little bit. And this is another one where the horse has taken step forward after step forward, was able to win a Group 1 last time out. It's got good numbers over a good turf over there, which obviously should matter a little bit here since we're going to be firm. Biggest concern with A Case of You is that A Case of You is 3 years old. A Case of You also beat Glass Slippers by 5 lengths last time out. So just shows you the class that A Case of You has. So for me, I'm going to be kind of looking at the 2 and the 6. And then I like the outside 3 horses here. Gear Jockey, Fast Boat, and Extravagant Kid. Trying to find some way to play those 5 horses in combinations and maybe lean on 1 or 2 of them on top and see if we get something big home.
What's really weird for me in this race is that Peter Miller isn't also eligible.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a horse in the race. I'm thinking of Stormy Liberal twice. I'm thinking of Belvoir Bay. Yeah. I'm like, okay, who's Peter Miller got? When I first got the PPs and the entries, I'm like, all right, where's this Peter Miller monster that I haven't seen yet? There isn't one. No. And so this is weird.
He had the exacta last time we were in California for the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita with Stormy Liberal over Ohm. Both of them, I think, were 12 or 13 to 1 too, but paid huge. And it was, I think, the 11 and 12 horses as well. So the outside horses doing well. But yeah, Peter Miller usually a threat here and not even in the race this year. It's kind of crazy.
Yep, absolutely. But he's got Mo Forza, which we'll talk about in a little bit. All right, on to the next race here, which is race number 6 on the card. This is the Breeders' Cup, or I should say the Big Ass Fans Dirt Mile. Love that. I've got my Big Ass Fans hat. And last year, actually, no, 2 years ago, Big Ass Fans had a Maker's Mark ice cream stand where they give you vanilla ice cream infused with Maker's Mark. We went back to that tent about 12 times till they ran out. So if they have that again this year, that's where you can find me.
I love it. That's amazing. Good chalk, bad chalk, life is good. Good chalk, like very good chalk. Like, again, this is one of those where I wish I could get creative and I wish I could say that, oh, Jasper Prince is going to run him down late. But look, this is probably a worse field than what Gamine is facing. And Life is Good. We don't know how good Life is Good is yet going 2 turns. He hasn't been tested at all. And so this horse is just, I think, going to be really hard to beat. I already have some overseas money in at plus 120. I will definitely be playing this horse at 4 to 5 for a lot of money in the BCBC in California if I'm able to get that opportunity on race day.
Absolutely. Excellent chalk. The best chalk. If I look at, you can kind of compare this race to the Filly and Mare Sprint. I agree with you there that the field's trash and the Met Mile winner's in there and Ginobili's turned into kind of a monster. But, let's look at these other 2 horses because outside of Silver State and Ginobili, I don't see anything. I mean, I'm not going to support 8 Rings. I don't know what that horse is. I remember when he was a 2-year-old. Snapper Sinclair, it's kind of like they go turf, they go dirt. He doesn't fit against this group. Life is Good as a monster. Silver State, Santana stays aboard for Asmussen. It was that last race at Parks where I had Silver State singled, and it looked like he was home, and then he let Mind Control, who was defeated, re-rally on him on the inside. He got beat. I don't know. I think Santana may have fallen asleep at the wheel there, but I'm not sure. At the end of the day, if you can't win at Parks, how are you going to come and win a Breeders' Cup race? And then we got Ginobili here. Drayden Van Dyke's aboard. He's had a really, really tough year. He was riding Kentucky a bit and, kind of bouncing around a little bit. But, this horse has been impressive in his last 2 starts. I just think once he faces the big boys here, he's going to be in for a rude awakening. And I don't have anything creative here. I'm just looking at Life is Good as a free space. And you know what? It's the Breeders' Cup. And, Omaha Beach got beat 2 years ago by Spun to Run. But, in that case, Omaha Beach wasn't a speed horse or a need the lead type. Life is Good. I will say this. If Knicks Go wasn't in the Classic, I bet you they would have pointed Life is Good for the Classic because I think he could maybe beat that field.
Yeah, I wish Life is Good was in the Classic because I think that would make the Classic a lot more interesting as well. This race comes down to I just don't see anyone that can beat Life is Good. Like but I could see people saying, okay, Gamine, I'm going to take Bella Sophia because I like Bella Sophia more. I totally understand that argument. Any horse in this race needs to improve by 10% to be able to compete with Life is Good, assuming we see the same races that Life is Good has been running. And no one can really take him off his game. I mean, maybe Ginobili just goes nuts and blitzes. And if that happens, then maybe Life is Good could go down. But if Ginobili goes nuts and blitzes, Ginobili finishes last. And so if you're the connections, you don't really want to take Life is Good on up front. And that's where that problem comes. I'm also shocked that Johnny V isn't on 8 rings. That was one of the things that really caught me up. If Johnny V was on 8 rings, I'd have a little bit more interest in 8 rings because 8 rings is a 4-year-old later in the season, improving. There's reasons to like him. But the fact that you're switching from Johnny V to JJ when Johnny V is clearly there, it's not like he's not riding that day, is a head scratcher for me because he rode this horse last time out, which was a career best effort from 8 rings. So when I looked at this race, my biggest issue wasn't just that I think Life is Good is better than these horses. Life is Good is improving in a good chalk, but there's not anyone that I really am excited about picking outside of Life is Good. I mean, even Silver State, who has been exceptional this year with win after win after win. I mean, it's just like, come on, you still need to improve 10% to get to Life is Good here. And I understand the argument that, yes, Silver State was able to beat Knicks Go, but there's also I would say some caveats around that win, right? I mean, Knicks Go didn't get to the lead. Knicks Go was coming back from overseas. That was the first time back in that race. It was also around 1 turn. Knicks Go was undefeated around 2 turns. So there's a lot of reasons why I would point to that and say, yeah, that's great. Beat Knicks Go. This is a tougher spot to beat Life is Good, who wants to be doing this today.
Yeah, with Silver State there, Oldie, that was a 1-turn mile, and Knicks Go, he likes the 2-turn configuration. He really extends his leads through the turns. And so if we look at Saudi Cup, 1-turn mile and an 1/8. You look at the Met Mile, 1-turn mile. Ever since he's been to the Cox barn, every time he's gone 2 turns, I'm not sure he's been asked in the last 16th of a mile in any of those races, which when we get to the Classic, I can maybe prove a point there on why I think he can get 1.25 miles pretty easily. Yep, it's Life is Good. So you've got a little future on Life is Good. Let me ask you this. If that cashes and they let you reinvest at 10-1 for Life is Good to win the Classic next year, you taking that?
Oh, no. I mean, 10-1 is not enough for me in any horse race a year out. That's the biggest issue. Not that I don't think if everyone got through the seasons, but just a year out, there's so much that can happen, especially for a horse that like Life is Good, who has already had an issue at 3. And if Life is Good wins a Breeders' Cup, you have no idea if it's time to send him off to the barn. So for me, I just don't want to take that short of a price on a horse a year out.
All right, there you have it. All right, Life is Good, good chalk. Now we're on to the Filly and Mare Turf. This is when it really starts to get interesting. You've got a lukewarm favorite here, Warlike Goddess. That's the best of the American horses. I don't think we can deny that. This is kind of our domestic spending in this race, but we've got a couple of international horses, not just from Europe, but from Japan that I think people should be worried about. So at a price of 7-2, is Warlike Goddess a good chalk or a bad chalk?
Bad chalk. And look, I respect the heck out of Warlike Goddess, who's been super impressive this year. Looked amazing. And I know you're going to say good chalk because I know you got some money riding on Warlike Goddess already. But first off, love in this race is scary. The fact that she showed up here and decided not to run in the turf, I'm surprised she's not the favorite, period. I thought this horse should be 5-2 against this field. She is going to be very, very, very tough. against this group with a good trip. I also really like the 8 horse, Love's Only You. I kind of like the Love Exacta in this spot. And this is that Japanese horse who I mentioned earlier, who I think could definitely get it done. You go back and you look at the last 3 races for Love's Only You. They're awesome, right? I mean, she faced the boys in all three of those races. She actually has faced the boys in 5 straight now. She's won over $3 million this year. She ran third to Mistrif and Chrono Genius, who ran second in that race in the Longines Shia Classic there. And Maydun goes back, ships to Titan, ends up winning there, and then runs in a grade 2 in Japan. And now we're going to come over here and run in the U.S. This horse has been tested all over the place against the world's best across 3 continents in the last 3 races. It's going to be the 4th time in 4 races across 4 continents. I respect the heck out of Love's Only You. She's not shied away from anyone and is not doing it here either. I think the 6 and the 8 are a decent step ahead of everyone else. And I respect the 12 Adaya as well. She was able to draw a little bit better post, but 12 is not a great spot for her.
Yeah, I was 3 deep in this race. I'm going to go good chalk with Warlike Goddess. I still have been saying this for months. Julian hasn't even gotten out of third gear with her, and I think she's got a couple of more. And so I hope to see those gears. I hope that they're there. Yes, I do have a future on Warlike Goddess that I would really like to cash. But at the end of the day, you got to handicap the race. The 6 and the 7, or the 6 and the 8, Love and Love's Only You are who I'm scared to death of. Love is a top class horse from Europe. In her last couple of efforts, though, hasn't really been as impressive as what she was a couple of years ago. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe is she losing some form? Love's Only You, I think, is probably the horse to beat. Mike, question for you on this. When you see a Japanese horse come over, are you surprised that they wouldn't try to get a top jock like Flavian Pratt or Ortiz to ride this horse? They're going with one of their own.
No, I mean, there's a loyalty aspect of this too, right? I mean, obviously Japan's a very loyal culture, and I would be surprised if you want to have the horse ship and have someone who's never ridden the horse ride it, and arguably the biggest race of their career. I realize that obviously Love's Only You's had a couple jockeys, specifically Shane Murphy, who rode the horse in Maydun, but the fact that you have multiple Japanese horses riding over the 2 days mean that their jockeys came here, and I would have been surprised if you didn't see a Japanese jockey or someone who's more familiar with the horse handling him in this slot, because I think it's a lot more interesting, or it's just having that comfortability with those horses and that jockey setup when you're running in America for the first time over a firm turf is going to help them out. They know how to handle the horse well. It's interesting because sometimes the first time you come to the U.S. and you run on these tracks, it is a little different. I mean, you saw some really bad rides at Belmont. You saw some really tough ones at Saratoga where these international jockeys just hadn't ridden those courses enough to understand. So there obviously is a concern there, but I mean, I think it's all systems go here for Love's Only You.
Absolutely. Definitely the horse to beat here. You know, what scares me about Warlike Goddess a little bit is that I think Julian might panic a little too early because he knows what he's running against. And so he's going to have to outkick these horses late. And so we'll see what Warlike Goddess is really made of. You know, she's definitely the most impressive on our end of the pond. You have a couple Chad Brown runners here. I'm not really interested in either of them. You know, this was Sister Charlie's race a few years ago, and then, you know, Rushing Fall finished second last year. That was disappointing, but not this year for the Chad runners. You know, Pocket Square was very highly regarded early and then started running in some grade 1s and just didn't show up. They dropped her in class. She gets a couple of wins, and then my sister Nat, I toss this horse every single time. I'm not excited at all about her. You have a local horse in Going to Vegas that you know is going to at least inject some pace into this race and absolutely loves Delmar. I just think she's a step below these. And then you've got Dog Tag, which is an old Chad Brown runner now in the Mandela barn that drew outside that I think, you know, might have a chance to maybe hit the super. But for me, it's all 6, 7, 8. Let's move on. Yep, go ahead.
Let me throw one long shot out there for everyone. The 10 Ocean Road. Don't sleep on this horse. Massive improvement off the layoff, and they decide to ship over here. This is the Ocean Road's going to need to take a big time step forward, but the fact that the horse is in this race, I think, is awfully interesting. Able to draw one of the top jocks over in Europe. I think you could get a big time step up and get a big time price. That's kind of one of those that I'm going to play underneath in some exactas and trifectas, and I'm going to probably include in a couple multi-race tickets if I do decide to spread past the 6 and the 8.
Well, if you're betting the 10 with O'Sheen Murphy, you just got to make sure he's not out too late the night before.
You got to worry about his California ways, man. Like, all the temptation is there.
Oh, Yeah, we play a golf tournament every year called the Fall Classic in October up in northern Indiana, and it's the member teams draw the pros, and the pros bring an amateur partner. But when they're doing the draft to select the member and pro teams, they bet on, okay, is this pro going to stay out till 4 a.m. drinking the night before, or is he going to get some sleep and play well for me the next day? That's into our handicapping for the Fall Classic. No different here when we got Jockey's Party.
Well, at least you know that they test them with a breathalyzer before they get on the horse. So at least that gives you some. Because I bet if they breathalyze a lot of those pros, they would be able to make it on the golf course the next day.
Yeah, that is also true. I guess part of it's a drinking contest and part of it's golf. So we will move on to the Breeders' Cup Sprint here. Field of, let's see here. Some are calling it the Jackie's Warrior Invitational, but we got a field of 9 here. Jackie's Warrior is the 6-5 morning line favorite, gets Joel Rosario and the 2-hole here. You know, of the favorites that drew, I know a few people on Twitter, which, you know, call it what you will, have said that maybe that's not the best draw for Jackie's Warrior, but what do you expect? You know, you can't determine this. There's no way to fix the draw, right? You've got some speed in Following the Sea to his inside. You've got CZ Rocket to the outside and Matira Sky, who 2 years ago tried to get up there and press Chance a lot early. And that kind of set the race up for Matoli. I don't know. I think Jackie's Warrior is a good chalk because the reason why, if you don't go with Jackie's Warrior, I feel like I've got to go 5 or 6 deep in this leg. And my second pick here would be Aloha West. I really liked how this horse closed at Keeneland last time against Special Reserve. But are Special Reserve and Following the Sea fast enough to press Jackie early? What do you think here?
This is one of the toughest races for me because I would argue that Jackie's Warrior is deserving chalk and probably good chalk. Matira Sky scares the crap out of me. The horse who I think has the least chance of winning the race, I think could cause the biggest problem for the favorite because we know the goal. We know the plan is just send, just shamelessly send. And from early pace numbers, the 2 and the 4 are very similar. So this is one of those, and you mentioned, hey, you know, I kind of think you have to go 4 or 5 deep. I'm almost like, do you hit the all button here if you don't single Jackie's Warrior? Because that, if you can go short in a couple races, and if you can go just to 68 in the last race, where we talk about some of the chalk that's good a little bit later, you got Life is Good in this Big 5 sequence. This one isn't a terrible one to just kind of pop the all button. Look, I can make a case for Forense Fire, who's going to be able to fire from off the pace. Lexingtonian, that Saratoga effort is good enough to win if Jackie's Warrior doesn't bring the A game. Special Reserve has improved consistently off the maker claim. Dr. Scheibel loves the track and should be respected. Like, you could make a decent argument for all of these horses if Jackie's Warrior isn't able to get the job done on the front. I am still going back and forth on whether or not I believe Jackie's Warrior is going to be able to get the job done on the front. And this is one of the toughest races for me to handicap because you have a long shot that has no choice but to 100% send. If Jackie's Warrior has to rate, and we saw Jackie's Warrior rate against Life is Good and get the job done, is she able to do that again here on this stage against all of these horses? My gut says yes, but it's awfully scary when she doesn't make the lead, or he doesn't make the lead.
Right. We get Ken here with a good point. No Lexingtonian for me. Yeah, at 20-1 or higher, Lexingtonian's a bet. At 20-1 or lower, Lexingtonian is not a bet. And so in this case, I think Lexingtonian will probably be the second highest price in this race. I can almost assure you that. Matera Sky will probably be the longest shot on the board, followed by Lexingtonian. You know, you make a good point about the all button here because let's look at how the sprint division has panned out this year besides Jackie's Warrior. You know, Jackie's Warrior broke bad against Drain the Clock in that race up in New York. That's the time that Jackie, you know, really didn't have a chance, was rushed up, and then by the time they got to the stretch, was all spent. Let's not expect that that's going to happen here. Let's expect Jackie's Warrior to break good. But if we take Jackie's Warrior out of it, you know, Following the Sea had an impressive performance last time out against Forense Fire and Baby Yoda, which to be determined on how good Baby Yoda actually is. I know a lot of his races have come back pretty weak. Yeah. And so, you know, Following the Sea has speed. CZ Rocket, if you would have said this race was in April, CZ Rocket might be the second choice. What has happened to this horse since? Just really didn't have that extra turbo juice that we're so used to seeing from CZ Rocket. But we're back in California here at Del Mar. Who knows? You know, this horse could maybe be the Whitmore of last year. At 12-1, that's not a bad price if you're a CZ Rocket supporter. I agree. Matera Sky's probably going to try to go. I don't think he's fast enough to go with Jackie, but he will press the pace. Aloha West, this is the horse that I'm going to key in some exactas. I think he should have won the Phoenix last time out against Special Reserve. I'm anti-Special Reserve, and he has Irad Ortiz Jr. on him. I'm with the other Ortiz brother here, Jose, on Aloha West. I just really like how this horse has progressed. I like the trip that I think this horse is going to get as well, and I think that you're going to get a nice price on him, especially in the exotics. So I could see myself, if I'm a Jackie's Warrior supporter, playing a Jackie's Warrior over Aloha West exacta. It might even be a contest play for me.
Yeah, if I do hammer an exactly here, mine will probably be Jackie's Warrior over Dr. Scheibel. I think that the 9 is not getting enough respect. It's only been in California, so you haven't seen this horse as much as other places. It's 3 for 3 on the track. That last race, I mean, yeah, it was Flagstaff and CZ Rocket. I think the big problem with CZ Rocket is this group got better. Like, look, he was beaten up on Whitmore and horses like that, which Whitmore at that point was kind of over the career. I mean, if you look at who CZ Rocket had beat, right? It was facing 8 Rings. It was facing Whitmore. It was facing Empire Gold, Flagstaff. It's just like, that is not, this group is better. But Dr. Scheibel, I mean, taking a step forward every single time this horse is run, we're getting second off a layoff late in the 3-year-old season. We know the horse loves the track. In that last race, I mean, losing the rein and that horse being able to sprint up the rail and just keep it going and Pratt keeping this horse under control, when that's not necessarily the style that Dr. Scheibel wants to run, he kind of wants to be a little bit off the pace, and he's going to get that pace set up today. So I would be interested in the 9 Dr. Scheibel as that second horse. And I mean, this is why I kind of keep going back and forth. With the right pace pressure, I think Dr. Scheibel could pull the upset here. But it's really all about, what happens up front early. What does Jackie's Warrior have to do? And what does Matera Sky do, depending on how you want to go here?
I think Dr. Scheibel is going to kind of be the hype horse out west. It seems like every time we get a Breeders' Cup out west that, the West Coast horses are kind of the home team, and some of the horses get bet down a little bit further than they should. And I think that's where we might disagree on this race is I think Dr. Scheibel is going to be a lower value than what he should be here. But that doesn't mean with the home course advantage he gets Pratt. I think it would be huge if Dr. Scheibel stepped up and won this race, but I will not be playing. All right, there we go with the sprint. Let's head on to the next leg here. Be race 9 on Saturday. We are going into the Breeders' Cup Mile as soon as this updates. Got a huge field here. And another kind of lukewarm European favorite at 5-2, Space Blues. Space Blues, good chalk or bad chalk?
Oh, man, this is another lukewarm chalk. Like, I think Space Blues should be respected. I'm going to go bad chalk because I don't have Space Blues on top. But I think you got to include Space Blues in pretty much everything. That last race was phenomenal. If you go back and watch the replay, and Space Blues is one of those horses that just keeps taking steps forward. The last 3 races gotten better and better and better. And you've seen this in previous campaigns where the horse just kind of keeps improving with each start. If Space Blues runs better than what he just did at Longchamp, watch out. I mean, and then it's good chalk. But this is a really tough field, and I'm not really interested in choking down 3-1 on any horse in this field. And I have Space Blues in third, so I guess I got to say bad chalk, right?
You have to by default if he's not on top. I'm going to go bad chalk as well. And from a class perspective, yes. But, there's a lot of factors that go in here. You got to ship well. You got to get the right trip. And you've got to beat probably the biggest field of the day. This will be a full field for sure. And so I went around him. I like Mo Forza as my top pick here. It's Peter Miller. It's Pratt. It's home field advantage. This horse has done nothing wrong this year. And, a lot of the great horses that we've seen over, I think of Bricks and Mortar, he never really won that impressively, but he got the job done. And that's what Mo Forza continues to do. He continues to get the job done under any circumstance. Slow pace, fast pace, you name it. The horse just makes his own trip. This is kind of my Tiz the Law on the turf, because Tiz the Law last year, it didn't matter what kind of trip he got. He made his own trip, and that was what makes a great racehorse. So I think Mo Forza will for sure be in the money. I'm picking Mo Forza on top. I think we got to look at the pace here. How do you think the pace dynamic plays out with Smooth Like Straight and Blowout definitely going to be gunning for the front end?
I think you're going to get an honest pace, and I think that's important. And that's one of the reasons I love these big fields, is that almost every one of these big turf fields, you have at least 2 horses that want to go to the lead. So you're guaranteed you're going to get some pace up front. You may have a couple of them back off, but I would expect it's going to be they're going to be moving decently enough up front that it sets up for the horses to come from off the pace and be able to get the job done here going the mile. This is maybe one of the most wide open races of the weekend. And that's one of the reasons I just can't handle that 3-1. I mean, you've got Raging Bull, who at his best is probably good enough to win this race. I'm not going to play the horse at 15-1. I've quit Raging Bull officially, but now is the time to play. Like, if you've gone to all the funerals, this is the wedding, right? Like, you're finally getting the right price here on Raging Bull. In Love looked great last time out, coming back here. There's going to be some support for Got Stormy, but for me, I mean, it kind of goes through the €3 first. We already talked a little bit about Space Blues. I really like the 9-horse Mother Earth. I'm kind of surprised it's the top pick here on Equinedge as well. Mother Earth ran very well at Keeneland last year, just missed to Aunt Pearl. Coming back here, trying to get some revenge in the Breeders' Cup. Aiden O'Brien, Ryan Moore, this horse is taking steps forward. I think you're going to see one of the best efforts of the year for Mother Earth. And if that comes to fruition, I think she's going to be really tough. And I don't think you can ignore the 12-horse Pearls Galore, who ran right behind Space Blues in that ultra impressive race at Longchamp as well. So it's, for me, those €3, the Mother Earth, Space Blues, and Pearls Galore, the 3, the 9, and the 12 are all right there. And yeah, I mean, Mo Fuerza, you got to respect the heck out of this horse. I remember the Twilight Derby. Horse got home at 18-1 for me. That was huge in tournaments on Breeders' Cup Day, undercard. And the horse has just improved and done nothing wrong since. So you got to respect Mo Fuerza as well. But this is one where, I mean, I could probably make a case for going 8 or 9 deep if I really wanted to. There's a lot of winners that you could see. It's the same as the mile last year. I mean, this produced a 99-1 winner last year. But generally, I'm looking for more Europeans, and to me, I feel like you've got 3 of them that stand out here.
No, absolutely. So this is a bad chalk for me just because the race is wide open. And you're right about Raging Bull. If you're ever going to get him, it's here at 15-1. And I'm going to have him on my tickets, especially some 50-cent tickets, just in case I can catch him at 15-1. I think that's an appropriate price for him because he either kind of shows up or he doesn't. And you're right, his best race is good enough to win this race. Raging Bull's undefeated in California. I've got to give him that. He gets Irad Ortiz. And I kind of wish, so the bull run's really good off of a layoff. I kind of wish after the Maker's Mark Mile, Chad would have shut him down for the year and just prep for the Breeders' Cup. Train the horse to the Breeders' Cup. We don't need to run him again. He hates Woodbine. The bull likes firm turf. So I don't know why you would run the bull on any other turf but firm, and Del Mar's got that. So, look, I could probably win the contest going all in on Raging Bull. Let's be real. That's not going to happen. Well, never say never.
I love that you call him the bull. Like, I can't get over this. Really? How many times have you bet this horse?
How many times has he ran lifetime?
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. If you have a horse,
here's how bad it is with me and Raging Bull. We're at the Derby the year Maximum Security won in 2019, and I'm with my buddy Eric, and we were in the Aristides Lounge, and it's all you can eat and drink. And we're like, we didn't know that going into it, so we weren't like mentally prepared to drink all day for free. And so I'm on my 12th, what do they call it? Woodford Spires. It's like Woodford, lemonade, a little bit of, this and that. And I'm buzzed. And there's an hour in between these races when she gets really late in our Derby day. And I told him, hey, what are you going to do on the bull? I go, if it's raining, I'm betting bricks and mortar because of the Pegasus. He ran well when it was raining. But I said, if it's firm, I'm betting Raging Bull. Well, it started raining, and I bet Raging Bull. And so I kind of convicted myself there, and I, regretted it ever since. But I did catch the bull when he won at Santa Anita in the Shoemaker Mile, and I did catch the bull when he won at the Maker's Mark Mile earlier this year. There's actually a video out there of me running and jumping, and it's nuts. So I mean,
this horse
a little emotional with the bull.
The bull has won 2 times in the last 9, twice in the last 2 years. So the fact that you have both wins are monumental. It's like, this horse has burned so much money for me, and now at 15-1, it's like, all right, maybe I kind of have to play the bull at 15-1 here. Maybe if I'm short in one of my entries, I'll just shove it on Raging Bull just for you, man.
I mean, look, I got my Scotty Cameron putter engraved with Raging Bull on the back. So.
Okay, maybe I should not listen to you at all for Raging Bull.
We love the bull here on the show, that's for sure. The bull has been good to us lifetime. Maybe taking a few years off of my life, but hey. The bull's not good for your blood pressure. We do know that.
And we got a ton of love. We got a ton of love for Space Blues in the chat, so I should definitely call that out. Oldie mentioned a couple comments here. The Applebee Act is extremely confident. You got a lot of people in here saying Space Blues is a single, saying this horse is the one to play. It's going to be interesting because if Space Blues, let's say, ends up here at even money, does everyone in the chat feel the same way? I doubt we see even money, but if there's this many people that are all Space Blues, Space Blues, Space Blues, and I didn't think that Space Blues was going to be this loved when I was originally looking through it. It's going to be interesting what price you actually get on this horse when they go off.
Absolutely, and time will tell, but this is one of the races that I think could determine or separate the field in the BCBC as well, because if you're a Jackie's Warrior fan and you have an opinion on any of these horses, the double pools are all going to be double digits. Maybe not Space Blues, maybe he'll pay like $8, but everybody else is going to be double digits for sure. And so if you're playing $1,000 or $2,000 daily double into this race, you're going to be putting yourself in a great spot.
Yep, and I will say, Oldie makes a good point here. If you want to hit the all button in the sprint, and single Space Blues here and maybe go 2 or 3 deep in the turf race right before, you're separating yourself in multi-race sequences. You're giving yourself a shot at a smaller denomination ticket for a big-time payout. So that may be a good way to attack this set of 3 races and play the pick 4s and pick 5s around it.
Great point there, because, being a little bit against what's popular is how we can make money as horse players. Jackie's Warrior is going to be singled, Life is Good, Gamine. If you ever find an opportunity to beat those favorites that are 3 to 5, 4 to 5, you're beating a horse that a lot of people are singling. And so a lot of people are throwing away their tickets. When you just play along with, what's popular, you're killing your value. And so if you find a single or 2 or 3 deep in a spread field, you're really setting yourself apart, like Mike said. All right, we've got the distaff now. No Monomoy Girl this year, but we've got Latruska, who I don't think anybody would argue has been the best female horse in the United States on the dirt this year. Only 1 loss to She Dares the Devil. We've got 11 in this field. Good chalk or bad chalk, Mike?
Oh, bad chalk. And I respect the heck out of Latruska, who has taken on all comers at all tracks all year. And you got to be impressed with what she's been able to do. But she just, to me, and this is my personal opinion, does not look the same the last 2 races. She was able to win them both. Got a little lucky at Saratoga with some trip trouble from other horses, and she was kind of sucking wind there late at Keeneland. The reason why I think she's bad chalk here is you have pace pressure all over the place, and the draw was great for Latruska in a sense that she drew the 6, but it was terrible for Latruska in a sense that Private Mission drew the rail. Baffert and Pratt only have one choice of what to do with Private Mission, and that is 100% send the horse. And Private Mission is as fast as Latruska when they go early. I mean, we're talking 22:46 opening fractions. If Latruska is forced to go 22:46, 22:47, somewhere in that range, doesn't have the lead, is pushed out a little further around the first turn, it just sets up for her at the price you're going to get her at, which I think is going to be around even money to 6 to 5, just being way too short. And it's not just Private Mission here. And that's the other problem. When you flip through here, you see Private Mission has a high early pace number. You've got Latruska at a high early pace number. Horologist actually has a higher early pace number than either of them. She Dares the Devil has a big early pace number. When you go down the page, it's not one person that could be pressing her. It's 2, it's 3, it's 4. That's when you really get in trouble with one of these horses. I respect the heck out of Latruska. I think she has an amazing campaign. I think she's in a really tough spot here. And I think it sets up well for some horses that are probably going to be coming a little bit more off the pace. Royal Flag and Malafat are 2 of the horses I really like in this spot.
All right, you have it. Bad chalk for Mike. I'm going to go She Deserves to be the chalk, but bad chalk. Nobody can. I mean, look at this. She's been the record speaks for itself. She lost to She Dares the Devil in the Azeri. That was one off. Look at the long campaign since the start of the year. This is a lot for a horse. And so I kind of think last time out, in the Spinster, she won by, almost 2 lengths. When me and Mike were at the NHC, we watched this race, and I had Latruska singled on like a $100 pick 6 ticket. And let's not talk about that because I left the info off, of course. But anyway, we're like, man, she's vulnerable. You had Dunbar Road, you had Bonnie South, you had Royal Flag, all right there. Any of them could have gotten up. And Bonnie South, actually. But, let's see. If Latruska doesn't bring her A game, and you got to look at that workout the other day. Well, what do you think about that 2-year-old? It was out of it was out of the Baltus barn that kind of ganged up on her on the outside and passed her during the workout. Now, that horse had started at a different time. You never like to see that. But I'll tell you what, Latruska just didn't look like a sound horse, in my opinion. I don't know. I think she's going to be spent. I don't think she's going to bring her A game. It's a great story. I like the horse personally, but there's too many other options. And this is the race where we finally have some other options besides the chalk, unlike the Gamine race. unlike the Life is Good race. And so I've got Clariere that's on my ticket. I've got Royal Flag. I've got Malathaat, She Dares the Devil, Dunbar Road. That's what I'm going with. I think Private Mission, Latruska are going to spin the wheels up front. I typically don't like Baffert with fillies, especially 3-year-old. I can do a Baffert 2-year-old filly, but really, I don't really hear of a whole lot of horses. Now, we got Abel Tasman, of course, from a few years ago, but Baffert's more of a colt trainer than he is for fillies and mares. So just something to take into consideration. I like Malathaat a lot, and I really like how she's been looking on the track. This horse is beautiful. And the way that she's been moving, I've really taken note of in the mornings as well. And the distance is definitely right in the house as she's been running. She ran a 1.25 miles last time in Best of Field. And so I think if you toss Latruska out of your exacta, that is how you could really make a move here. One of the plays that I'm definitely considering is a Malathaat, Clariere, She Dares the Devil type of trifecta combination to press with Latruska out. Because with a lot of these speed horses, if they don't win, chances are they got burned up on the front end. They might not hit the board.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're on the same page here. I like Malathaat quite a bit in this spot too. She's that improving 3-year-old to me, and her numbers are almost equal with the 4 and the 5-year-olds, and she should take another step forward here. I mean, I don't know if Latruska completely misses the board, which would be that would be a way to balloon things, so that's for sure. But, you talk about Private Mission and Baffert. You look at the 3-year-olds the last 2 years, the fillies have been coming from the East Coast, not the West Coast. And so for me, I'm looking at East Coast fillies here. That leads me to the 2 Browns, Royal Flag and Dunbar Road, who I think both could run pretty big races here, especially if we get that massive pace setup that I think we're going to see. And then Malathaat, who I think when she has horses to run after, she's better. She doesn't want to be close to the lead. This bigger field is a benefit for her, especially with her tactical speed. She could end up sitting a perfect trip here in that third flight behind a couple of setups. She can swing wide, use her big stride, not get stopped around that final turn and be really dangerous. I mean, this is one where, again, respect the heck out of Latruska. It's amazing what she's been able to do when you look through the past performances. The horses won at Gulfstream, Sam Houston, Oakland Park, Belmont, Churchill, Saratoga, and Keeneland in the last 12 months, all in graded stakes. That's ridiculous. That's also very hard to continue that campaign when you face the best horses in the world at the end of it.
I would guess in the BCBC, this is going to be a race that will also be very critical in determining who's the champion, as it looks like a very, very spread field. All right, 2 more now. We're going to the Breeders' Cup Turf, and we have the defending champion, Tarnawa, coming back. This is probably a better field than she faced last year overall. I remember last year it was kind of a short field. You had Channel Maker and then a few other Euros, and then was it United? Yeah, United was in that race, didn't run very well. But it was a short 7-horse field. Good chalk, bad chalk, Tarnawa from the 13 post.
So this was one of the toughest good chalk, bad chalk answers for me. I picked her on top, and so I feel like I have to say good chalk, but 9-5 is a bad price. I mean, I think you're going to see her price float up on race day as well. I would be more interested around 3-1, somewhere in that range. Not sure if we're going to get 3-1. I would not play her to win at 9-5. I do think she is the most likely winner. Look, she's coming into this race as good as she has ever been. When you look through her past performances, she ran huge the last couple times out. And those races were better than the races that she had entering the Breeders' Cup last year. Even though she won those races, she ran second in these last 2. She ran second in monster fields, had 2 trips that weren't perfect. St. Mark's Basilica beat her 2 back. That horse was supposed to be a monster. Last race was in the Arc de Triomphe, the most expensive race in the world, 14 horses. She had some trip trouble, didn't necessarily love the ground. There's tons of excuses in those 2 races, and she still ran second in both of them. I mean, she is a monster. 9-5 is just a really tough price to suck down. I kind of like Broome. Give me a little, sprinkle a little 20-1 shot here in the 8-horse. Broome gets Frankie Dettori back. That race 2 back is good enough to be able to beat this group. It was a grade 2. The turf was firm, which I think is huge. When you see a European horse run that well on firm turf, we return to Frankie Dettori. I think you might be seeing this Aidan O'Brien trainee sitting on an absolute huge one. If Broome is able to go off anywhere near 20-1, this is a horse that I'm going to be kind of keying around in the exacta, the trifecta, have some doubles in and out of it to see if I can get a big time score here late in the tournament.
That's a good point there. Tarnawa, 13 posts, 9-5. I'm going to go good chalk. And the reason I'll say that, and some people might say, well, Brady, you've been saying outside posts are terrible. This is a 3-turn race, okay? So we're going to be breaking from the other side of the track. We're going to have 3 turns to get in position. And speed's not that much of a factor. We've got a few speed horses here, but this is a long race. So I think because this is a unique setup, they really don't run many 3-turn races unless it's the Breeders' Cup Turf on the turf. And so I think that she's going to get over just fine. It's not like she needs to lead early and it's going to be forced 3 or 4 wide. I think she tucks in, she gets in her position, and she makes her one run. If that one run's good enough, we'll see. But she has facing some amazing horses over in Europe, including St. Mark's Basilica that was just retired. And some would argue she should have beat her because St. Mark's Basilica came out 8 paths and they didn't take her down because I guess the rules are a little bit different in Europe. Otherwise, Tarnawa gets up and wins that race. And then the Arc was obviously disappointing. She ran on the inside, didn't get a great trip. She was covered up for most of that race in the Arc. And then we had a bomb come from the outside to just beat her at the last second. Look, we take the Arc class and we take St. Mark's Basilica's class, second place with maybe not ideal trips. She's got to tower over this field for me. I'm not concerned about the outside post as much. I think she'll get a good trip. I got to look at domestic spending too. And so I'm drawing a line through the 2 Emmys race in the Arlington Million. And so, look, this horse took the bricks and mortar trail all year this year. We're going to go win the Turf Classic in a dead heat. We're going to go win the Manhattan. We're going to go win the Mr. D Stakes. And it was unfortunate that they let 2 Emmys crawl at 52 and change, James Graham on the front end. But, this is America's best horse. You put this horse in the Arc, it's probably 40-1. I mean, but this is on firm turf. This is our home. He's won there before. Pratt's the best rider out west. I would be kicking myself if I didn't have this horse on my ticket and he won. Now for the BCBC might be a little bit different of a story. I could see myself pressing some Tarnawa into, a horse in the Classic for a daily double or a daily double ending on Tarnawa and then sprinkling in a little bit less money on domestic spending because his price is going to be a lot higher. What price do you want to get on domestic spending to make you interested?
I'm going to be 8-1, maybe. I mean, and that's crazy because if you told me I got 8-1 before the Mr. D, I probably would have jumped all over it. But this field is tough. I mean, again, the Europeans brought their A team here. I mean, look, I can make a case for Walton Street, who ran huge last time at Woodbine. He's got good time form numbers that match up. I think Broome is a factor. Sisyphan, who I end up picking 3rd in this spot, another one coming over from Europe, who I think could take a big time step forward. Yibir ran well at Belmont. You've got Tiona, who is another one that could take a big time step forward as a 3-year-old in this spot. Tanawa, who's last year's favorite. Japan, who may get a chance now to actually run. Like the last 2 races, Japan's got an awful trip. You look at domestic spending's numbers and it's like, he's got to take a big step forward to compete with these other horses. I kind of want to pick domestic spending because I would like to pick a U.S. horse here, but I don't think domestic spending hits the board, which is crazy to say because I would have told you domestic spending was for sure going to hit the board before the Mr. D. But with the horses that came over here, and then you start watching the replays and you look at who they're facing, you're just like, the waters are deep, man. This is tough. There's a lot of very good European horses in this race.
Yeah, I think of the most recent, Breeders' Cup Turf last year at Keeneland. Then I go back 2 years to Bricks and Mortar's year. He didn't hardly beat anything in that race. He beat United. He beat Anthony Van Dyke, who did have a little bit of a troubled trip. But other than that, that field was garbage compared to this one. I mean, this is a true Group 1 field. If Europe, this is as close to a Group 1 as you're ever going to get. And that's the races that all of these horses from Europe have been running in coming over. And we know that there can be a big class difference. Let's talk about the speed in this race. We've got Tribhuvan and Acclimate that are definitely going to go set the pace. Tribhuvan really needs the lead. I remember at Saratoga, I had him in the Gufo race, and Channelmaker didn't let him get the lead, and he was pretty much toast after that. Chad Brown's put some rabbits in races before. Thais used to be the rabbit for Sister Charlie and whatnot. But I just think there's so much class behind this horse, and he's not going to get a loose lead. And if he does, they're still going to run him down. I don't know. Did you have any love for maybe Tribhuvan or Acclimate trying to absolutely rob this thing on the front end?
No, I think Acclimate's going to make the lead, and I think Acclimate is going to go really fast doing it early, and then you're going to see some breathers in those middle quarters, and that'll kind of seem like it's a little slower pace. But I wouldn't be shocked if you see 23 Like Acclimate has no choice but to go for the lead. Trepuvin's in the inside and going to kind of push out there with him. I think the two of them may open up 4, 5, 6 lengths early, first time through the stretch. And that's going to set it up for quite a few other horses that are coming from off the pace. And more than that, it's going to mean that they have zero chance to be able to get the win, right? I think that's the big thing. They need one or the other to scratch out to be able to have any chance of winning this race. And I just don't see it happening. I think they burn each other up early.
Yep. And here's the other thing is if the speed horses are in the race, that does not benefit the Americans because the Europeans have a better turn of foot late. And so we'll see what happens. But there's your summary for the Breeders' Cup Turf. All right, let's go on to the Classic. This is the granddaddy of them all. We've got Knicks Go as the 5-2 morning line favorite. Good field here. You know, there's you got Hot Rod Charlie, Essential Quality, Medina Spirit, the quote-unquote Derby winner still, and then some West Coast runners. Good chalk or bad chalk for Knicks Go?
Good chalk. I mean, I went through all the permutations of trying to figure out how I can try and beat this horse. 1.25 mile distance is obviously the biggest concern for me, but when you watch this horse run at 1 1/8 miles, he's not really being asked late and being able to run away from a lot of horses that are pretty good. This is tougher than the fields that he's faced, and there's the possibility of more pace pressure here. But when you watch Knicks Go and you watch how easy that stride is early and how comfortable he is going 23 second quarters, 46 second halves, and you look at who else is in here, there's only one other horse that can actually do that. That's Medina Spirit, who's drawn outside. Look, Knicks Go is dynamite at 2 turns. You talked about this. He has not lost at 2 turns in the Cox Barn yet. I don't think Medina Spirit is fast enough to stay with Knicks Go early, and I don't think they want to burn Medina Spirit out trying to stay with Knicks Go early. Additionally, don't forget, Baffert originally wanted to rate Medina Spirit behind Life is Good because he felt that was Medina Spirit's best chance at beating a horse like Life is Good. Oh, by the way, Knicks Go is a horse like Life is Good. I think you're going to see both the 3 and the 8 rate off the 5, and I think that's good night for everybody else. You're not catching them down the lane.
Good chalk for me as well for Knicks Go. I love this horse. This horse changed my life earlier in the year. And so I love him. I have a photo framed in my office above my desk of Knicks Go. And every time a customer comes in, of course, we got to talk about Knicks Go. I love him. And, you know, here's how I think the race is going to pan out. You have to make a decision. There's 3 scenarios here. Either Knicks Go gets the lead alone and it's bye-bye. Medina Spirit presses and they both bang heads on the front end and it sets it up for a horse like Essential Quality or Hot Rod Charlie, who's probably going to sit the best trip in the race, or like a Max Player. I don't know about Art Collector. Or Medina Spirit gets the lead because Knicks Go didn't break and it's just like the Derby all over again. I think scenario 1's most likely. And I think if I'm Bob Baffert, in a $6 million race, second place still pays pretty well, better than most other races for first. And so I think if Medina Spirit wants to run second, he has no choice but to sit. And he's shown that he can do that comfortably against Life is Good a couple of times and finish second. And then into Rock Your World in the San Diego Derby. I was there for that race live. And after we got down the first stretch, I said, Johnny's not going. He was trying to teach Medina Spirit to rate just in case, because at that point, I don't think Life is Good had been hurt yet.
Nope.
So they were still trying to say, look, we're not going to send both horses in the Derby to the front. That would be stupid. We want to run 1-2 in the Derby. So what Johnny V did is he took Medina Spirit outside of Rock Your World. Rock Your World got an easy lead and then just went on with it. Well, we've seen Rock Your World since and hasn't panned out that great. So I don't think Medina Spirit is as fast as a lot of people think. I just think he's faced a lot of fields that haven't had as much speed in them, and he's been able to get a pretty easy lead. I think he's been beaten up on pillow fights. Other than the Preakness this year, which was 2 weeks after his Derby, so maybe we throw him an excuse. We got to take into consideration all the controversy. Baffert, for 72 hours prior to the race, has to hire security, be monitored the whole time. There's even certain legal things he can't administer to his animals. And so there's a big cloud over this field as well. For me, it's all about Knicks Go here. I really like playing a Knicks Go over Essential Quality and Hot Rod Charlie exacta. I think that's probably going to pay decent. And then in the try, anybody else that you could see running, I wasn't interested in Tripoli, Express Train, or any of the West Coast runners besides Medina Spirit. I think Max Player can run late, but man, that's going to be a tall task for Max Player.
Yeah, I mean, just to expound on the Knicks Go point, the last 3 races around 1.8 miles, the horse has gone 110 and change for 6 furlongs. No one in this field can go 110 and change for 6 furlongs with him if he's comfortable. And that's the problem, is that if you decide that you're Art Collector, if you decide that you're Medina Spirit, you go 110 and change, you're finishing last in this race. And that is the issue, is that anyone who wants to press him is costing themselves their own race to press him. And that's why I'm concerned that no one will actually go out there. That's why I'd love to see Life is Good here, because Life is Good would say, yeah, let's go. Let's see what happens. He's got that same high cruising speed. Look, I think it's the 2-horse race. I think it's Knicks Go or it's Essential Quality, because if Knicks Go does get cooked up front, it's Essential Quality that's rolling late. And look, I love Hot Rod Charlie, but he can't beat the best 3-year-olds. He can't beat the best 4-year-olds. How is he going to beat this field where you have essentially one Cox horse who's clearly better up front, one Cox horse who's clearly better coming from off the pace? I don't see how Hot Rod Charlie is able to get by Knicks Go and the other horses pressing and also hold off Essential Quality going 1.8 miles. So for 1.25 miles. So for me, it's just a really tough spot for Hot Rod Charlie, who I think Hot Rod Charlie probably 90% to hit the top 4, maybe 2% to win. Like it's crazy how Hot Rod Charlie to me is a great underneath horse and a awful horse on top in this spot. A lot of it's going to depend on what Knicks Go and Medina Spirit decide to do. If they want to be competitive in the race, they cannot push Knicks Go. If they don't want to be competitive in the race, or if they think their only way to win is to go and they don't care about finishing second, which trust me, they do. There's a lot of money on the line. Then they send and we'll see what happens. But I would be very surprised if Knicks Go if anyone's like right on his throat latch, which is how you're actually going to put pressure on the horse.
It's good to be Brad Cox, that's for sure, because the way that this race sets up, one of his horses is going to trip out.
You'd think
ideally.
So. Yeah.
Well, you would think so, barring any kind of disasters. And, I like that the Knicks Go that Medina Spirit drew outside of him. I think that was crucial. If we would flip the draws, then all of a sudden I'd be giving Medina Spirit a little bit more of a shot. I like Knicks Go here. I would love to be live in the contest to a decent score to Knicks Go somehow, some way, so that we can kind of relive the Pegasus a little bit. Maybe I can get Scotty this time. Who knows? But yeah, it's Knicks Go for me. What about Art Collector? He's the long shot here. Look, he's faced Maxfield, who we realized isn't all that good. He's improving. I like the horse, but I think Art Collector might have been a little bit better served in the dirt mile. Would you agree?
No, I think he would have gotten absolutely destroyed by by Life is Good in the dirt mile. I think that's probably why you see him here. Look, Art Collector's gotten better all 3 times since going to the Belmont Barn. Art Collector has been able to show that he can sit second or third and win a race. And that, to me, is why Art Collector is somewhat dangerous in this spot. Take another step forward and you're able to sit off Medina Spirit and Knicks Go if that happens, if they hook up. Then you got Hot Rod Charlie and Art Collector who ideally trip out. I mean, it's tough here. It's like, look, this is one of my big concerns here for both Art Collector and for Knicks Go is Maxfield is the best horse that they've beaten this year, going 2 turns. And look, Maxfield, I've been making fun of for 2 years. So I can't really hang my hat on the fact that Maxfield is the best horse they beat. So that to me is the one issue with both Art Collector and Knicks Go. But I think Art Collector makes sense here. I would not put Art Collector on top, but I think Art Collector makes quite a bit of sense underneath, trying to chase home. I would expect you're going to see Knicks Go win. And it's going to be Hot Rod Charlie, Essential Quality, Art Collector right behind him. I mean, that's my super right now. That's what I would expect from that. And I think that Hot Rod Charlie's team should have been happy with this draw. Hot Rod Charlie is going to trip out, period. He's going to sit right behind the speed, and he's going to get first run at them. And if he's good enough to catch them and hold off Essential Quality, he'll win. I just don't think he's good enough to do either. So that's my issue with it.
A lot of scenarios that could play out. There's our thoughts. I can't wait to get out there, Mike. It's going to be a Breeders' Cup to remember. I know the Breeders' Cup in 2017 was a heck of a lot of fun for a lot of people, and we had some great races. We're going to have some upsets, though. This is kind of how the Breeders' Cup goes. We go through the post-draw. We're like, man, that favorite looks really tough. Well, yeah, there's 13 other horses in the race, and there's half of them in Europe. So there's going to be some animosity to play out in some of the turf races, I think. But all in all, we couldn't be more excited for the Breeders' Cup. We want to thank the viewers. Everybody was pretty active in the chat today. And like the show, hit the thumbs up button. If you're out at Del Mar, hit us up in the DMs. We'd love to meet you guys if anybody's going to be at the Breeders' Cup with us. I know me and Mike and Scotty are all playing in the contest, so check the live leaderboard out, root us on. Hopefully you don't see a big goose egg on one of our entries on Friday. I'm playing in the last chance qualifier on Thursday to try to get a second entry. And so we'll see if we can maybe do some damage there. But Mike, any final thoughts before we sign off?
It's going to be a hell of a weekend, man. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm going to get to the track Wednesday through tomorrow. That's crazy. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Tomorrow we've got Del Mar Racing to set it up. Wednesday through Saturday. Make sure, even if you don't bet tomorrow or Thursday, watch the races, because they often key up tracks for big weekends, big days. It'll give you an idea of how the track is playing going into the weekend. So make sure you watch the races. It's really important. It could let you know how well speed's playing. If the track is producing track records or close to it, tells you the track is fast. It's better for speed. So make sure you watch Wednesday and Thursday to make sure you get a good idea. Even if it's just the replays, just watch the replays at the end of the day to get an idea of how the track is playing, especially the turf and the dirt. If there's bombs that are going wire to wire, that tells you speed is definitely good. And that means horses like Knicks Go, like Gamine, like a lot of the dirt horses that we're talking about, all get upgraded in my mind.
Yeah. I can't wait, man. This is the Super Bowl, man. I won't sleep tonight and I won't sleep tomorrow night. And so I'm all in on the Breeders' Cup. I've had a lot of caffeine and we'll continue to the next 4 days. And so good luck to everybody out there playing the Breeders' Cup. Root us on in the challenge. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit the like button. We appreciate you guys following and watching the show. And we look forward to recapping it next week to see if we picked the good chalks and if we faded the bad chalks. But good luck if you're playing the good ones.
Have a good weekend, everybody. Best of luck. We will see you back on the normal time next week on Thursday for some live racing and some Breeders' Cup talk.
All right. There you have it. Later.